a series which explores the life and stories of ex-boarders and how they've fared since leaving school. Whether they've had good, positive, or bad and negative experiences of boarding school, everyone has a story to tell. And one thing's for sure, the past has a way of shaping us into the people we are today. Now, Seen and Heard is a committed group of ex-boarding school pupils who understand the unique institutional experience of being raised in these environments and who believe in the power of connection and its ability to heal. And I'm an ex-boarder myself and have documented my own recovery journey in my memoir, Unshackled Mind, a doctor's story of trauma, liberation and healing. But today, I have the pleasure of interviewing Clare Russell-Jones. And here she is. And actually, Clare, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself. Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, my name's Clare Russell-Jones. I'm a retired nurse. My background was my father was a solicitor, my mother a housewife, and at 9 years old, it was mainly my mother decided that we needed a very good education and a boarding school would do it better. So we were sent away, my twin and myself. My brother had already gone at 7. Yeah, I've had a very rich life, but yeah.
Okay, so have you any idea why you were sent away?
Well, first of all, we lived in Sheffield and my mother didn't like the northern accent. So we all
Okay.
had elocution lessons for starters. And we were actually, our names were put down when we were babies to go to boarding school. My father went to boarding school, but my mother never did. But she thought it was the best education we could possibly have. And as I said before, they'd do a better job than she would. So, yeah, that's really it. Um, just a better.
And so you went with your twin, and was this an all-girls school?
It was an all-girls school, yeah, straight up. We went to a preparatory school first, and then on to a very posh um, boarding school. I won't say where, but after that, but the preparatory school was in High Wycombe.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, when you first arrived, do you remember that day?
What I do remember, I don't remember the first day particularly, but what I do remember is the first exeat. I can remember walking down the steps. I mean, they were big steps then to a little girl, and I saw my well, I saw a man and a woman, the man in a trilby hat, and my mother in a nice coat. With, I mean, it was my mother, but I didn't recognize them. I was just very frightened of them, and I thought, who are they? And then I clicked who they were, and I can remember just walking across, and they took me out. Can't remember any hugs. Can't remember any. Whoa, it's lovely to see you. Or at first, I just didn't know who they were. I think I'd switched off. It was quite odd.
Yeah. And I mean, were you sort of put in a dormitory with your twin, or were you separated? What?
I think I was separated. I'm pretty sure it's quite. I have written quite a lot about my school days, and memories have come back, which is quite interesting, really. Just to, but I'm pretty sure I was put. I definitely was put in a different dormitory from my sister, because they thought it was good for us to be separated. You know, because we might be naughty or whatever. But I can remember just being alone in the dormitory. I can remember my little bed, and I had a Scotty dog, a black Scotty dog toy, which basically I kept right into my teenage years. It got balder and balder, scruffier and scruffier.
And I mean, when you look back now on that time, does it give you good feelings or bad feelings? I'm just curious as to what those memories are doing.
I think I get some very sharp memories. I think, but just a feeling of battle and struggle. Really, I think that's what I had. I felt there were. I was a very good girl. I've always been a good girl all my life. And I know I was a very good girl at school. My mother was very strict anyway, and then being sent away to school compounded that. But I was naughty sometimes. So I mean, there was a time, this is at prep school, where I decided I wasn't going to use the toilet. I didn't want to use the potty, which they put under the bed for me. Instead, I was going to try my tooth mug instead and then chuck the wee out the window. Well, that went well for quite a few days until one day the mug slipped out of my fingers and it landed on the driveway outside the big house where my, it was Highlands House, it was called the boarding house. So I thought, right, I put a hairbrush in my bed. The hairbrush will wake me up, and I'll nip down, grab the mug, and nobody will know. Anyway, I woke up in the morning. The hairbrush had not woken me up. The mug was gone, and I spent the whole day wondering, what's going to happen, which was terrifying, really, when I look back. Anyway, I was called in eventually and presented with the mug, smelling very strongly of disinfectant, told off. I always felt very alone in these things. That's all I can remember is I was told off not to do it again. I can't remember whether I was allowed to go to the toilet or not, but the potty thing was so ridiculous. I got an obsession with potties and hygiene and stuff like that. Even as a young child, I just thought it didn't seem right. But yeah, that story. And my other memory at prep school was when I had an infected finger. My third right finger, and it swelled up, swelled up. I totally ignored it for many days, and then one night it was just like a big fat sausage by then, looking quite infected, and I didn't know what was happening with my finger. Eventually crawled along to the sand, the matron who made me feel like a nuisance, and she went and got a huge needle and sort of jabbed it into my finger, and I can't remember any kind of explanation, but hey, that's my nurse sort of background, thinking about explanation. And then I went around with a huge bandage on and felt terribly proud of it. But it's just, I just kept it a secret for so long. I just thought, this is not, looking back now, I had nobody to tell. Just thought, keep going, you know?
Mhm.
Um, yeah. Those are the two memories I have of that kind of battle in a way, the struggle. The loneliness was the other thing. I always felt alone. Um, the I didn't seem to have friends. I can't remember seeing my sister. My sister seemed to be running off. She always seemed to be running away. She was very sporty and very. I was sporty as well, but she was more sporty, more clever than me. Um, so often I just was on my own. Um, Perhaps that wasn't the case, but it felt like it.
Okay. So, I mean, you're not giving me a picture of you being a very happy little girl at school.
Not really. I mean, the homesickness was the thing as well. Just
Yeah.
yearning, longing. I loved my home. I loved it. I loved the moors. I loved walking and all the lovely things with my mum's cooking. It, it's just so Scotty dog had to kind of take the place of home. Um, I'm sure we had a bit of fun. I mean, I could stretch onto I felt it was more fun in the teenage years. I'm trying to think when we started the dormy rounds where you jumped round on all the furniture, after lights. And then it was either being naked or in your nightdress. So first of all, it was in the nightie, leaping around the furniture, not to touch the floor and jump into your bed at top speed. Or you then, even worse, take your nightie off and leap round. And there was always the matron stomping down the corridor. I mean, it does sound like Mallory Towers, but it wasn't. But we did have a giggle. We were laughing. We were really laughing. It was good fun. It was just the mischief of it. Absolute mischief. Yeah. So
And so, what age did you leave school?
I left school when I was 17, just 17. Um, I went on to university to read English literature. Um, I mean, my teenage years were quite fraught in many ways, although I fell madly in love with a boy from a local public school. And the thing that really we were caught, basically, we were meant to be going to some boring Shakespeare play. Well, I liked Shakespeare, but anyway, it was boring at the time because he was so much more interesting. And we landed up in his study. I mean, it just sounds so daring now. I was quite naughty sometimes, these moments of breakout. um, and I think I was about 15. Anyway, I thought he was absolutely besotted, didn't know anything about sex. All we were doing was kissing and just being together, and we were caught by the housemaster of the school. And I can remember waiting outside the headmistress's study at something like 3 in the morning for her to basically send me home for 3 weeks. I'm rusticating you, she said. Didn't have a clue what rusticate meant, but anyway, sending me home for 3 months. My mother then put me in Coventry, literally did not talk to me for 3 weeks. And I just walked around madly in love with this boy. And actually, within a sort of week or two, they pleaded with the school and I was sent back. And I was never allowed to have any contact with him again, but I used to write letters via a friend in another boarding school, so I kept a bit of contact. But I think the thing that happened to me just before I left school was that I sort of went into some sort of the boyfriend dumped me in the end, and I think it just was um, pretty devastating at the time. And I stopped eating really, and I can remember I had a diet of an orange for breakfast, piece of bread for lunch, maybe not even that, and then a main meal. I think it was. I always had the jam roly-poly with thick custard to sort of keep me going. Um, but I had journals. I've still got my journals, particularly the teenage years. And it was always. My mother used to ring. We used to speak on the phone, but I could never tell her anything. And I used to hurtle up and down the stairs after every meal. I actually went back to the school and I saw the house, I saw the perspex glass, and I could still see the stairs where I used to run up and down like a dervish to get rid of the calories. Crazy. But eventually, the house mistress said, "You look like a skeleton." And my Russian teacher, because I did an A level in Russian, she used to stuff me full of cabbage pie and porridge. She was just, oh. But anyway, I had to eat it, so I ate it. But she was a very loving woman, actually, and she noticed. And eventually they told my parents, and my mother said, "Well, it's giving me a headache. I'm going to take you to the gynecologist." I had no periods at that point. And the gynecologist said, "You'll never have children." So I went home and ate my mother. No, I went home and ate my mother's fantastic farmhouse fruitcake, a slice, and thought, I've got to have children. I can't not have children. But they gave me iron pills, and I don't know how long I didn't have period. But I can remember writing, "worried about my peas," as I put it in my journal. And then I moved to the sixth form house, which was actually the saving of me, because I met this lovely girl who basically loved me enough to and bothered with me. And she said, "Come on, you're going to have breakfast, you're going to have lunch, you're going to have supper." And she kind of befriended me and mothered me, really. And I began to get a bit more whole, and that was lovely. So that was a good start on when I left the school. But there was no real career advice, or in those days, you either went nursing, you're either a doctor, but I didn't have many sciences, or you were a teacher. Felt like that. Didn't want to teach, didn't know anything about kids, didn't understand children, didn't understand myself. So I landed up doing English degree because I absolutely love poetry and reading, and the teacher was wonderful. So that's, yeah. So I left at 17, and then I went to this university where I just carried on doing homework at 6 because I I just didn't know what else I could do. So every time at 6 o'clock, as I had done at school, the first year I did homework. Um, it was terrifying when I look back. Never told anybody. And then I wanted to run away. I went through a patch of, just like at boarding school, where I fantasized about running away. I actually did it at university. Packed my bags, walked out. Scottish University, walked along a road with my bag. Just wanted to go and see my sister was now at Oxford University, and I just wanted to be with my twin. And I stopped. I was walking along the road, and there was a golf course on the right, and I came up to a herd of cows. And the cows were so quiet and so beautiful and so still, and they looked at me, and I looked at them, and I felt, "You're telling me to go back. You are." So I turned around. I was only 18. I wasn't even just 18. So I turned around and went back to my life. I mean, I'm glad I did. I mean, that was a moment of madness in a way, running away. But it was like, felt normal because I'd always thought about running away in school. That was my always very, very detailed ways of the way I was going to escape. And I wrote about it, and I can remember it, the detail, Scotty dog coming with me. But I'd always be sent back.
Did
Yeah.
you actually carry it out, the running away?
Not at boarding school.
No.
No, the fantasy was extremely strong, and I was walking down the hill. This was at prep school. I
Mm.
could really see myself walking down to the station. I didn't really know where it was. I was right in it, with my little case and the Scotty, the red case. I've still got my red case with the embossed name on it, C.W. Cooper, because that was my maiden name. But no, I wasn't. You see, I wasn't strong enough. I couldn't push it enough. I was too good. I was just such a good girl.
Until you got involved with the boy.
And then the boy, that's it.
Yeah. Um, so you went to university and you were still feeling as though you were kind of constrained in a similar way to you were at boarding school doing
Yes,
your
yeah.
homework.
And then the second year, I had a kind of, it was a sort of nervous collapse. I call it a nervous collapse because um, I was driving myself so much to pass this. I mean, in those days, didn't seem to be much support with learning, particularly. And I was a very perfectionist, very, very high standards. So I was up at 3 in the morning, reading, and not sleeping. And eventually, I became quite poorly, and I rang my mother, and she said, "Get on the train, come home now." So I came home for 3 weeks, and I had some acupuncture. I can remember that, and just rested. And my father was absolutely wonderful. He was always so loving and kind. And he sort of stuck me on the settee, lie on the settee, and he used to play beautiful music to me. Fauré's Requiem is particularly special for me. It was very healing. And I lay in my beautiful home with this beautiful view of the moors, and suddenly it was okay. And then I went back and was very strict about I never worked after 5 after that. Never worked after 5. I just worked in the day. I thought to myself, I solved my own problem. I said, working people work from 9 to 5. That's what I'm going to do. So that was, yeah, that was quite, yeah, but you just feel very, yeah, constrained. I think constrained is a good word.
Right. And so you did your English literature degree, and then how did you come to become a nurse?
Good one. Basically, I hadn't a clue what I wanted. I did know what I didn't want to do, and I didn't want to be a teacher after the English degree. I had lots of aspirations. I wanted to be a lawyer, but my mother put a scotch to that. I think I'd have been too anxious to be a lawyer because my anxiety was always high. I wanted to be a journalist. I think she put a scotch to that as well because I loved writing and I was very interested in people. But what happened with my background is that the caring side of things was very strong, and particularly at home. My mother had MS and my father had depression. Um, so I was either supporting mum, running around being mummy's little helper most of the time. And if I wasn't, I was guilty, so I had to keep on being mummy's little helper. And then my father began talking to me in my teens about his mental health issues. But before that, when he was, I mean, I know it's all rushing out, but when I was 11, he tried to take his life. We were back home, all of us, my brother as well from boarding school, and he basically threw himself from the top window of our house, um, and that was, yeah. But
Hmm.
he'd been to boarding school. I just don't think he ever sorted. He wouldn't do counselling. He would never sort his issues. He just took the pills. He had ECT. He used to come home, not my dad, not my father anymore. But he was also a very lovely man and very sensitive and kind and selfish. That's um, bless him. So the caring thing was extremely strong. It was almost natural for me to go and be a nurse. It felt like a natural. It was so easy. It was too easy. It was under what I was actually capable of. That's how I feel now. Any old person. Then Gareth, my husband, says, "Stop it, Claire," and checks me. But I know I was a very intelligent and very good nurse, but I felt I could have been all these other things. But because of this, it's not just the boarding. But the boarding school is the thing that trains you, channels you so quickly into. And I had to make a decision because my mother, yet again, I said, I don't want to be a nurse. Just the day before I was going to London to train. You've made the decision now, she said, you go. And I used to say that's the best thing she ever said. But I just wish we'd had a discussion. We'd had a discussion about it. Um, and I feel I've suffered. You might ask me this question later, Kelly, but health-wise, I feel the combo of the and this is me, people can agree, disagree, and a doctor disagreed with me, but I had the anorexia, so no periods, so that could be linked with osteoporosis. Now, some people are debating that, I don't know, but anyway, I've got quite bad osteoporosis now. Plus, I developed quite severe osteoarthritis, like I couldn't walk on my right leg. It was so painful when I was about 56-ish, because I had driven myself into the ground, running. I've run the whole of my life. It felt like I was always running, and always with anxiety. It seemed to be the anxiety things just not. It sounds like I have had a miserable life. I had lots of happy times as well, but it just took focusing on boarding school and the. So I had to really work through quite a bit on that. The hip replacement helped with the osteoarthritis, but it could have been different. I used to look at librarians and think, oh well, they've got a nice life. They've sat reading books and they won't get osteoarthritis. I
So
was
do you
driven
think that your running and your drivenness is related to what happened to you as a child?
totally. I'm
Totally. Yeah.
absolutely so. And I would say the boarding school regime, the competitiveness, the rules, so many rules. I mean, I was writing about this all the time in my journal. The rules that we had to keep, and I'm still worrying about the rules. Am I in the right? I mean, recently, only very recently, I went to a hairdresser's, and I booked in a cut and blow, and afterwards I thought, I'll just have a cut. So I said, I'll just do the cut today. Ticked me off, the hairdresser. She ticked me off. And the reaction I had, it took me about 3 days to get over this feeling of loathsomeness. I just felt loathsome. I hadn't stuck to the rules. I hadn't done the right thing. I mean, that's a minor, uh, a small thing, but it kind of affected me very deeply too. But I was working out how to distract myself. I was using all those, the compassion therapy as much as I could. Be kind to yourself, all those things. But still took me 3 days. I still go back to that hairdresser. Somebody said, "Why do you go back?" But I mean, or my husband said, but that's a legacy. I mean, that just says you one tiny legacy, you know, and yet you
Yeah,
overcome it. Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? Sorry, go on.
No, I completely identify with that. I think I've met a lot of boarders who feel this incredible sensitivity. So if they're told off, it takes a long time to kind of recover. And I obviously it's hard to know, but it seems to be related to the fact that we were shamed as a
Yeah,
means of punishment.
yeah,
And
that's it.
it's
That
something
shame
triggered.
really. For me, shame is a feeling of you are loathsome somewhere. There's something wrong with you. Um, you haven't, whatever it is, you haven't matched it. I mean, if I might just share that a deeper story with my son, for example, was quite ill, mentally ill, quite a few years back now. He's much better, but and I was I didn't know who to talk to. I mean, I talked to my husband. I wanted to talk to somebody else. Eventually, I rang the Samaritans, which sounds a bit dramatic, but I was not suicidal. I just needed to talk. And I kept saying, I'm feeling these really powerful feelings about my son. I'm so upset about him. And it's not right that I'm feeling all this, I kind of said to him. And he suddenly went, but he's your son. And that's all he needed to say to make me feel okay to have the feelings about my son. But before that, it was all, I shouldn't be feeling this. Why am I feeling all these horrible feelings? I shouldn't be like this. And he just let me off. He's your son. You're allowed. He didn't say you're allowed to. He just said, look, he's your son. And I said, bye, thanks. You've helped me. That was it. Short call. But I came away thinking, it's okay to love my son.
So
Yeah.
you crave validation in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. It's
totally,
okay. Yeah.
totally identify with that.
You do. Yeah. I mean, it's that self-checking, that self and thinking, it's okay to be me. Yeah. You got it, Cathy. You've got it. It's yeah, and it's a life's work, isn't it? Trying to throw it off. Maybe
Yeah,
the episodes seem to maybe decrease a bit. The nasty episodes, and you get some lovely smooth, you're feeling okay episode, and then it can just come from offside, curveball. You're back in it. Oh,
So, I mean, when you were an adult and, you did your nursing and you met your husband
yeah.
and went on to have how many children?
4
Four
children. Yeah. Two
children.
girls and two boys. Yeah.
So, identical to me. And you also have a dancer.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Um,
That's,
did, were you aware once you were an adult of the impact that boarding school had had on you?
no, no. It was only, I never used to tell people that I went to boarding school as well. That was the other thing. Um, that was almost unconscious, I would say. I just never said, just want to fit in, blah, blah, blah. But I started at the age of 60. It was Adam's sickness, really. I mean, my youngest son's unwellness, but he's okay now, just. Which made me think and I was so over attached to him, and there were lots of other things going on in your life, and it made me explore it. And I suddenly clicked. I thought, is it boarding school? Maybe is that why I was looking at patterns across my life. Some of the things which I've just touched on. Is that so? I thought that's the only area, because I'd had other counselling over the years with various subjects, and it was the one subject I had not explored at all. So when we sent our son away to school, or we agreed for him to go away to school, I thought it'd be fine. It'll
That
be
was
just
ballet
fine for him.
school, was it?
Ballet school, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and somebody said, gosh, you went to board. One counsellor said, you're sending your son away? I said, oh, yeah, 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 he'd be fine. It was that, yeah, naive, really. Naive, yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it, that you'd had counselling previously and you
Yeah.
hadn't explored it. Was that because you didn't talk about it, or you said it was okay? Or was it the fact that the counsellor didn't see it as a problem?
I don't think the counsellor even brought it up as a
Mm.
problem, really. Um, just mentioning, you'd have thought school would be the most, school for people who don't go to boarding school is a very important part of your development. But I can't remember anybody flagging it up in the counselling. I thought it was just normal to go to boarding school anyway, even though unconsciously I wasn't telling anybody. I only told certain people. Um, no, strange, isn't it? That is quite strange. Um,
Well, yeah, I mean, I certainly, again, would say that when I started to first tell people when I had an emotional crisis in my 30s, and I knew boarding school had been an issue, but yeah, it was ignored. It was like,
no.
well, nothing really happened, because, you know, they were looking for sexual abuse, and I
Yeah,
wasn't sexually abused.
no,
Um,
no, I
uh,
wasn't. No,
it was like, well, in that case, you didn't. What's the problem? Snap out of it.
I think it's the deep. I mean, I always felt abandoned. I think
Mm.
often I went to counselling because I felt so anxious, a kind of floating anxiety, but I knew it was tied in with abandonment and rejection. There's always fear, that sensitivity. So we worked on those, but yeah, to be just left at school but it was not really, I can't remember it being explored. It was only when I went and had therapy in my 60s we actually explored it in more depth. Um, yeah,
And did that help?
it has helped. I mean, I haven't had much now for about two couple of years. It did help. It helped me, and also it opened out all this wonderful support. The conference, the boarding school conference. I've got a Zoom group of women who I will meet up with, and hopefully we're going to meet in. I mean, it might only be three of us or something, but we met in London last year or this year actually. Fantastic weekend together, and we just bond, we connect, we just have fun, we laugh, we talk and talk and talk. We sit in some cafe or other for about 3 hours, and every now and again order another cup of tea. It's magic. It actually it was change. It changed my life. Actually, it changed my life to being less lonely. Let's put it that way. They get it. They get it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that feeling, isn't it, that you don't have to explain.
Yeah.
Whereas quite often, I think it's really interesting that those of us, particularly the girls who went to boarding school, didn't talk about it, never mentioned it to friends.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I felt almost ashamed,
Yeah.
because of the privilege aspect.
Yes.
Whereas, you always knew if a boy had been to Eton or one of the big public schools,
Yeah.
but we didn't really want to show.
No.
It's funny, isn't it?
I mean, I don't know, Adler. I read quite a bit about Adler. I don't know if you know
Mhm.
Adler, the counselor. He's, one of these. He interests me because he said a lot of our problems are to do with superiority and inferiority. But I
Mm.
thought, well, my problem is always about inferiority, but other times it can be trying to. I don't like being superior above people. I like to be on an equal with people. It's a very strong part of my belief system, I think. Um, but I don't like having an inferiority complex because that brings another, literally a complex of other stuff, which is probably inverted pride and all the rest of it. You just kind of, um, and that kind of, and then people think, well, why have you got that when you had such a privileged background and really good education, and some people don't have any problem with boarding schools. Sometimes I find that my sister, she won't have any of it. I cannot have conversations with her. She doesn't feel boarding school was ever her problem. It was mainly mum. Couldn't stand mum. My mother, who's the way she was. Neglectful, I think my mother really was. Emotionally, very, just couldn't cope with emotions. So, you don't have any for us. But I mean, my sister became very ill, but she will not have anything said against boarding school. She said it was a fantastic place to be and she excelled. So I'm glad she's got something that's, she feels was good for her, even though her life has been very, very difficult. So I can't really relate to her on that, which is
Mm.
another loneliness, isn't it? Because she's my twin, and she went to exactly the same schools, um,
Were
but
you
they
identical?
we are identical.
Oh, wow.
But
So
she did,
that's fascinating, isn't it?
yeah. In terms of yes,
Yeah.
I mean she was more of a scientist. She read zoology at Oxford, so she's very
Yeah.
bright. I, for some reason, if they just given me biology to learn in my O level, I would have loved it. But I couldn't do chemistry and I couldn't do physics for some reason. My brain. So I ended up doing the arts. So we were very different in that way. But I was also this caring goody two shoes. See, do myself down. But wish I hadn't. I'd say to my husband, son, I just wish I could be less nice. People say, "Oh, you're so nice, Kurt." Yeah, I'd like to be less nice. I'd like to be really nasty sometimes, but I couldn't bear it. I couldn't bear the rupture. Well, I wouldn't be nasty, but do you know what I mean? Trying
Mm.
to be a bit more authentic sometimes, and you still get the backlash. So you think, is it worth it? No, keep your mouth shut. You
Mm.
understand, don't you? Yes.
I do, yes. Yeah.
Put up, shut up.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I mean, so going back to the now,
Yeah.
and uh, how do you feel about do you feel like you've come a long way down the road to recovery, or?
It's very incremental. It's small, and
Hmm.
sometimes I feel I've gone back.
Okay.
Um, I think I'm more self-protective. Because I'm more aware now. I'm more self-protective. I also choose not to be in places, which then I think is this not embracing life. But for example, I've just stopped going to a group in church because somebody was quite, did banter with me, joked with me when I was actually telling a serious story at the time. It really hurt me, and I thought I don't want that. I don't need that. And the group itself, they're all really like the science and the sciencey. No, not that that's wrong, but quite sort of clunky in their emotions, stuff like that. And I thought I don't want to. I'm the pastor's wife as well, so I thought no, not going anymore after 7 years. Um, and then I think, is that a positive step or a negative step? I think it feels positive for me because I can then do a group that I want to do, which is probably something out of the church. Um, yeah, so that's but it's very slow on in answering your question. I think um, there's still quite a lot of regrets of what I could have done. Been I know I've had 4 children. It's fantastic, and then 3 of them live in the city, and it's a rich life I have, and I've got a good man, good husband. But in terms of a person, so I've started right at the bottom at the moment at Cardiff University writing. So I'm just doing the first uh, module. So maybe that will help me. I don't
Oh,
know.
wow. So you've
Because I
gone
write
back
a lot.
to university.
I've gone back to, well, yeah, you could say that in a way. It's only one module, but I don't know. I'm writing a short story now, and it's just obsessing me.
Fantastic.
So it's
Yeah.
not all, but yeah. So there's hope for people. I think there's hope for me. Um, I think I got off. I think because I was caring, I forgot about myself a lot over the years. So I didn't suffer so much in a way, but the anxiety was, and it still is,
Mm,
not great at
mm.
times. Man in the black bowler hat or just pops up, as I used to call it, Winston Churchill when he,
Yeah.
whatever it
Yeah.
was, the black dog. Well, mine was a man with a
Yeah.
black hat.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of but I feel I've changed. I think it's really helped the fact I did have therapy and did those weekends away. The
Mm.
2 weekends. I'd recommend them for anyone who wants to grow um, and change. I would recommend them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, that's really important, I think, isn't it? And how do you feel about telling people your story? How do you feel about this going out as a podcast? Any problems there?
I think I'm all right. I mean, I hope I haven't said anything. I mean, I don't think my sister would listen to it anyway. I don't think I said anything. It's just who you talk about. Adam, I've been a little bit open about him, but then you think, blow it. It's going to help somebody. I just hope it'll help somebody. That's my main. It'll resonate. I hope whatever I've experienced there's some sort of resonance, and also just there is a way out. There is I think whatever we've got from boarding school, there is a resilience, a pushing on through. I'm going to get through this somehow, and I'm going to find some solutions. And I do think that's a legacy from boarding school. It's not necessarily a bad one. Um, yeah, slightly nervous, but I'm all right.
Well, thank you. I mean, I think you've done incredibly well. And I'm really proud to have you come
Thank
on
you.
and share what you've been through and what you're going through. Um, and when I first met you, just for our listeners, Claire and I actually met as well. We didn't meet, but we were in the same space. Um, you did your nursing at St George's, where I was a medical student.
That's right.
We also ended up going to the same church where I met my husband and you met your husband. And here we are years later, meeting again,
Yeah.
and I had no idea. I mean, you just don't, do you?
No.
Um,
I mean, it's
yeah,
fantastic to meet you, Kathy, as well.
yeah,
And the other, with your ballet dancer children, your
yes,
offspring who are ballet at the Royal Ballet, same as there's all these connections, which is wonderful, wonderful.
yeah,
Really
yeah.
appreciate meeting you.
And the whereas kind of I had to come out of the church situation because for me it was very associated with some of the negative feelings I had about myself.
Mm,
Um, but and we've both struggled with that decision of what we how we were to manage our children, who wanted to go
mm,
away to do their ballet training,
mm,
and who um, it was a terrible thing for me, certainly,
mm, mm.
because it brought back memories and because I really didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Um, so yet, here we are, and we can't turn the clock back. We can only go forwards.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. It's
There are things that we will always regret in life, but we can't control a lot of stuff that happens.
no,
That's
that's
for sure.
right. That's for sure. Yeah. I mean, there was a C.D. Lewis poem about the biggest act of love is in the letting go. He writes about watching. This is going to make me feel emotional now, but watching his child going across the football pitch as he released him into the boarding school, and I'm sure it was the boarding school. And as I released my son into the Elmhurst school, I went back and wrote a poem that was absolutely from my heart. That he just ripped my heart out. It had ripped me out, ripped my heart out, just leaving him there. But he would always be part of me, running through my veins. In your marrow, your children, aren't they? In the
They
marrow
are
of you.
indeed.
So,
Yeah.
but good and bad, isn't it?
Yeah.
Lots of good and bad. It just anyway. Bless you, Cathy. It's lovely, lovely
Thank
to
you.
talk to
Well,
you.
thank you for talking to us. And let's say hi again sometime soon. So,
Okay, no worries, no worries. Bye now.
bye.